we shall go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to 21 with Your Story. I trust everyone enjoyed a restful Christmas break with their families and friends. I know it's been quite unusual, but we're still here, we're still going forward, and we'll do the best we can. Anyway, today we are looking at this lovely book that I have been using during Veganuary, and I've attempted Veganuary, and it's been going quite well. But this book has been at my side, which is Jennifer Errico, who's with us today, going to talk about how she perfected a niche, and particularly talking about vegan nutrition. So welcome, Jen. Thank you for your time, and thank you for participating.
Guys.
Yeah, so I'll just say a little bit about Jen. I've met Jen about 2 years ago. It's into our second year now as a fellow South African. We connected here in Pocklington, and it's been an interesting journey, and I've learned so much about Jen. And one of the things that stands out for me is that Jen was a top chef working at Claridge's. It's my favorite story, really. She, as a very young chef at the age of 24, was the only female working in a large kitchen at Claridge's, and they weren't particularly nice to her. And she mustered up the courage and the guts to throw an oyster at the head chef because he wasn't very nice to her, and promptly got fired. But
I did not get fired.
Oh, sorry, I thought you got fired. But I just love that story. It just speaks of such character and moral fiber. She wasn't going to be stood on, and she wasn't going to be bullied. And there we go. I just absolutely love that story. But it also points to Jen's pedigree. You know, to be selected to work in the kitchens at Claridge's must mean you're a special chef. But beyond that, Jen has also worked in luxury yachts and is a keen sailor herself, and she's a best-selling author. So, you know, writing about nutrition, which is her new niche, she's also written in a previous niche, which is all about working in the industry of luxury yachts and yachting, and working in that industry. So she does have a book out on that, and it's been really a good entry into niche for Jen. So she's more experienced than we think. This is not her first dipping her toe in the water. So so she started with super yachts as a niche, and now we're on to nutrition as a niche. But Jen has retrained herself into nutrition. Maybe, Jen, you want to tell us a little bit about your journey into becoming a nutritionist?
Yeah, it was quite simple, really, because my mum was a dietitian. I grew up on a health farm in South Africa, so it was always a background history for me. Was always, anytime I felt ill, my mum was out with the vitamin C, loading me up in all sorts of vitamins. And of course, looking back, so much has changed since those days, and probably, well, I know for a fact nutritionists would be pretty horrified by what went on in the early days, with just arbitrarily handing out vitamins and minerals and hoping for the best. But I decided to retrain about 5-6 years ago because I did not want to go back into chefing. It's a crazy career for a woman, particularly an older woman, because it's really demanding, and there is so much arrogance amongst the young men wanting to be the top dog all the time and telling you, you know nothing, you're a fool, and you want to smack them because they've got no experience themselves. So I thought, right, I need a change. I'm really passionate about nutrition. There's so much you can do with it. And yeah, so I studied, and then began to realize how broad the scope was to help ordinary people learn a little bit about the basics that could really benefit their own health and their family's health with just tiny changes. Really doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be stressful, just really basic additions to a meal could change the whole nutritional profile and mean that your family has a much better chance of remaining healthy.
Okay, great. And so tell us about what made you want to write this book? How did it come about? What was your thinking behind it? What was your motivation?
I thought about the book, it was about 15 months, 16 months ago, which is crazy. Because when I first thought about it, I thought, oh, I'll have finished the book in about 3 weeks. Okay, maybe 3 months. And 15 months later, I'm like, oh my word. But one of the reasons I started is because people were asking me to send them recipes. And then they'd say, oh, okay. You being a case in point, Bev, because you're like, oh, I'll do this, but I'll do it with butternut. I'm like, no, you do it with the sweet potato because the sweet potato has the vitamin E profile, and that's going to mean it's a broad meal. So I thought, no, if I do the book that contains all the nutrition, but it's also got pointers to every, well, not to every, but a number of ingredients saying this is why they are there. These are the benefits of them on not just the superficial scope of the meal and that nutrition that it delivers, but in the broader scope and the broader reasoning for enjoying that sweet potato. It's not just the vitamin E, it's what everything else that goes with it. So, but I wanted to make the information bite size. This is not going to be an encyclopedia on the things. My God, there are enough of them about and they're boring to read. I wanted it to be fun, snapshot information that was really, really simple, really easy to interpret, and really, a light meal, not a huge feast.
I must say that's one of the things I was going to ask you about, because it made it very easy to read. I mean, it's not like a normal text that's just like, starts at chapter 1 and ends at chapter 20. And, it's just left to right, page after page with a few pictures in between. It's laid out almost like a magazine. And as you say, bite size. Can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to lay it out like that?
Partly because I also had just finished doing the degree in nutrition and was sick to death of reading these really heavy textbooks. I didn't want it to be a challenge to read. I wanted, if you wanted to read it on your Kindle in bed, it wasn't going to be, Also, another reason is that I wanted it to be perhaps more than one book. I wanted to have a number of issues. And so I wanted the book to lend itself to being not only easy to read, but also a format that could be changed in quite a simple way for each new book, but still would feel familiar by readers who are going through it.
I can certainly attest to the fact that it's very easy to read. I got it yesterday and I so enjoyed it because it was quite personable, in the sense that it was very conversational, and you could see yourself in some of the situations. Now, and one of the stories in here is about your daughter Sarah as being one of the strongest motivators for writing this book. And I know Sarah's on the call somewhere, and there she is. She's waving at us. And maybe you just want to tell us, because that's a really powerful motivator as a mother, isn't it? If your child isn't well, and if you can look at how you can make them well again.
Yeah. Well, it's every parent's nightmare. Thank you, Sarah. When I was at home one Saturday back in November, 6 years ago, Sarah, 7 years ago, 8 years ago,
12.
Oh God.
I think.
Anyway, I was at home waiting for her to come home from work, where she had a Saturday job, and there was this bang, bang, bang at the front door, and my heart flew into my mouth. And I was either going to lose my temper with Sarah for having left her keys, or something else was going on. And I had a nasty suspicion something else was going on. It was a taxi driver saying, have you got a 16-year-old daughter? So, of course, in your heart of hearts that that's not a good thing. So he said, your daughter's been hit by a bus, and jump in the taxi and let's go. So we head over the road to the site of the accident, and a bus had indeed hit Sarah and squashed her leg. I'm not even going to go into details. That's enough said. So she had these issues with healing, and I knew, because of my background a little bit with nutrition and dietitian with my mum, that she needed to eat well. I know now that she should have had loads of vitamin C to allow the collagen to grow to support her healing. She needed a lot more protein. she was 16 and she was arguing with me. And I remember one occasion, and Sarah will back me up on this, that I was trying to say, no, you need to eat muesli for breakfast. And the nurse was saying, oh, give her McDonald's. So, yeah.
So
Anyway.
was at this stage, was Sarah vegan already?
No, she wasn't. No.
Okay.
And then, anyway, roll on a few years, and instead of healing and improving, her leg was actually getting worse. More and more issues, increasing pain. She had about 2 years where it was getting a lot better. And then instead of like, okay, that's brilliant, this is as good as it's going to get, it started to go downhill again. And oh God, we went to doctors, we went to, consultants, and none of them were very helpful. And then Sarah was traveling around America and doing what you do when you're traveling like that, having a lot of fun, eating a lot of junk. And she was at the point where when she was at work, she was struggling really badly. Was being sent home, was sent to A&E because the leg was in such excruciating pain. And we thought, right, let's look at changing her diet. She was very interested in being vegan. So we thought, okay, let's do it properly. So when I thought about putting this book together, she became my focus, so we could work together to take it forward. She was the recipe tester. And she would give a lot of the recipes and say, Mum, I really like this particular meal. So in the book itself, there's some recipes which I don't particularly like. Lemony chicken, Sarah. But she loved them. And so I tweaked them to make them really as nutritionally dense as they could be without going absolutely insane on the calories. So it was a fine-tuned balance, but that was all the reasoning. So we worked on her and supporting her healing. And yeah, it did make a big difference.
Okay. We'll come back to Sarah later on and just hear her story and what her mum did and advised helped her. But just in a nutshell, Jen, what is the point of the book?
The point is that if somebody's going to go vegan, please, please, please do your homework. It is, we know for a fact, it's the healthiest diet on the planet. It's the kindest to the environment. It's the best for animal welfare naturally. But you have to know what you're doing. You can't just simply write, I'm never going to have meat again, because they contain nutrients that you need to replace. But you can't just go and have cornflakes and Oreos and French fries for the rest of your days and think you're going to be healthy just because you're vegan. So the point of the book is getting the facts, getting it simple, keeping it neat, keeping it basic, but not overwhelming somebody with all the encyclopedic knowledge that is out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very popular area at the moment, and there's lots of books on going vegan, being vegan, nutritional recipes, blah, blah, blah. What, in your view, is, how is this just not a recipe book? It's not just a recipe book on vegan recipes. How is this that book that gives you more?
As Sarah will attest, for the past 3 years, I've hauled her into every recipe bookstore, every secondhand bookstore. Right, we're going to look at recipe books. And none of them that I've ever been able to find, and there has been extensive research, has the nutritional breakdown of the recipe. Dear God, they focus on the calories. Would you stop with the calories? Calories are so incidental, really. Just leave the calories, because if you have the nutrition, you're not going to want to eat more. I see you laughing.
I love it. You're just so intensely passionate. I love it. Carry on.
Stop with the calories. Get the nutrition, then the calories take care of themselves. So none of the books that I was ever able to find had the information on the nutrition alongside the recipe. So you hear countless people saying, oh, I've got to get more iron. But how much iron is in here? Well, none of the recipes tell you that. And they don't tell you that you need vitamin C in order to absorb the iron. So when I design a recipe, if it's to boost the iron, I will always include the amount of, the tartric acid and the lactic acid, all the things that operate in conjunction with each other within the body to enable iron absorption. So yeah, it's not just a trivial, here we go, this is a great recipe, it tastes nice. I'm hoping the recipes, apart from the lemony chickens, all taste nice. But it's an individual thing. But yeah, it's a good recipe, but it's got a really solid nutritional foundation. And the ingredients are in there for a reason. You can add whatever you want, but don't take things away.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, what has been quite powerful for me to read is the star ingredients, why they're included, what they
Yeah.
give you. And what I've been able to play with a little bit is for some of the recipes I've been doing, I've added some star ingredients from other recipes that you've got in your book, just because I know they bring certain things. And I think, oh, I'll add some of this and I'll add. What I've really enjoyed is you just need to do a few small additions
Yeah. Yeah.
that has a tremendous impact. But without the knowledge that you bring in this book, it's really hard to discern what is going to be good for you in a planned way, in a conscious way, isn't it? Because as you say, most vegan recipes, vegan books, etc., will tell you about this is good to do, etc., and this is the recipe, but none of them is actually telling you. And I will say this to everybody who hasn't seen the book yet: every recipe has the nutritional breakdown, uh, and your percentage recommended intake for each of those nutrients, and that's really useful to know. And then Jen also gives a comparison as to if you didn't boost the recipe with the key ingredients, the star ingredients that she's recommended, you will see how deficient the standard recipe is. And then but just adding a few key things, maybe, and they just store cupboard things, but just by adding them, it might be cinnamon, it might just be in a raw basil or a piece of root ginger or something like that, or some nuts and seeds. It just elevates the nutritional value tenfold. So I can really see that. One of the things I do see is you worked very, very hard. Sometimes the simplest books, which is what this looks on the surface, I can see there is so much thought and detail gone into this. On that note, I want to ask this question. Writing about your niche, and I could clearly hear you very passionate about, um, the thing about nutrition and eating well and making sure you've got the nutrients you require, not only to boost your everyday life, but also to prolong your life going forward. I mean, if some of you won't know that Jen's dad's now 101 years old and he's been eating well since the age of 60. So that does say something. But the question is, writing about your niche, because we are all about storytelling here and people want to hear about how you wrote about your niche. What were some of the challenges you faced?
Everything that I've got in the book, everything, my God, is all science backed. So I've done all the studies, all the medical journals have been gone through. And I think the hard thing about it is because I personally loathe reading medical texts. God, they're so dry and so, I really didn't want that to be in the book. So I had to translate it into something that Sarah, bless you, Sarah, would enjoy reading, that she's not going to think, oh my God, I'm not going to look at this. So I had to not dumb it down, but I had to make it into something that was going to be an enjoyable and interesting read. And I think that's extremely challenging because you fundamentally at a core level have to understand your subject, because you can't just trivialize what you're talking about and make it into just something that reads well when it's not fact. So yeah, that was a challenge.
So someone else wanting to write about their niche, what would you recommend for them? One of the things you do say in a subnote somewhere that the information or the amount of information that you had to write about was quite overwhelming. How did you overcome that, and what was the challenge exactly?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because is what do you leave out? I mean, I know when I was trying to start writing and I wanted to write a novel, and you guys will probably know better than I do, but there's someone, is it Mark Twain or Ernest Hemingway, who said, leave out the bits that people will skip. Well, you don't know what that is, what somebody's going to skip. So, but I did understand what they meant, is that you just absolutely bring it down to bare bones and leave out the waffle. And yeah, I think if it's a niche subject that you're really passionate about, nobody's really going to care about, the color of the sky and what a wonderful day that you've had. And if it's a really, yeah, it's a niche subject, stick with that niche. Don't waffle.
Okay, and also, I mean, based on your previous experience with the sailing books, the yachting books,
Yeah.
how did that experience differ to this in terms of niche writing?
Again, that was a bit of a challenge. The yachting book, we had a lot of information that we had to put in, a lot of maritime law, of which I knew nothing about. I went into it in a very light-hearted way. Again, I'd been in a situation where I had to have a sudden career change because the girl's father and I split up. I couldn't get a job as a chef working in a restaurant with 2 small children. So like, oh, holy moly, where do I go from here? And yeah, the restaurant world was behind me. So I just put together the book on the yachting. And the first one, oh my word, somebody said to me, you know, talk about rose tinted glasses, because I said everything in it that was marvelous for me, but I didn't go into the bare bones of what a really crappy job it could be sometimes. So I scrapped that version and I did give the warts and all. You know, this might be the wonderfully paid job, you travel the world, but it's a lot more than that. And it made it a far deeper, more solid book. So yeah, stay away from the roses if it's not only roses.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, the vegan nutrition is a very different type of book, isn't it?
Very, very different. Very different. But still, the fact is a fact is a fact. And to again take that maritime law, nutrition side of things and put it into somebody who's going to either be picking up a pizza from Aldi and hoping for the best, or walking a dock in Antibes, they still need to understand that maritime law or the nutritional law in a way that's going to agree with them and not going to have to be interpreted. If it says it's you've got to be on the left hand side of the key, then that's how it is. You can't waffle around it. And it's the same, you need this much iron, then you must be, that's how much iron you need, you know. So
and I
yeah,
suppose the consequences, isn't it? Short-term and long-term consequences.
Yes, yeah.
To if you're not on the right or the left side of the key, there are consequences to that, and gravely so. And then the thing about that was quite interesting for the nutritional side, if you're not fulfilling your nutritional quotas, there are short-term and long-term effects. And you know, whilst today as a young person, and we might hear from Sarah in a minute, you know, you feel well, vibrant, etc. As you grow older, things change for lots and lots and lots of reasons. And longer term, you know, what would your message then be for someone who's been vegan for a long time, but on the surface they seem okay, they seem well, fit, vibrant, all of those things? What would your message be?
Many vegans, because I did a lot of research going into it, and you know, all these Facebook groups and doing their dietary analysis, and quite a few vegans go into it and they do a lot of research and they know what they're doing. But then again, conversely, oh my word, there were some scary things. And they weren't asking for advice. I was just asking for their diet so I could analyze it. And yeah, there were times where I wanted to go to them and say, listen, if you want to live into your 30s, things are going to have to change. Because what happens in the human body is really interesting, because you've got the triage system as you get nutrients come in. It's like the A&E situation. They've only got a limited number of doctors to go around. It's the same, you've only got a limited number of nutrients to go around. So they'll send them to the most deserving department. And quite often that department has been allocated by your genes, if that makes sense. So you will get that magnesium going to your energy. So your energy level will be fine, but you'll suffer from insomnia, you'll suffer from muscle cramps, etc., etc. But you wouldn't necessarily link the two. But you know, when you're 20, you cope with that. But when you're 30, 40, 50, 60, those years of deprivation, while your energy levels have been fine, the results of insomnia for those 40 years could mean, you know, you're not going to live past 60. So you need to make sure you have those foundational levels of nutrition from as soon as you possibly can.
So maybe it's time to hear from Sarah. How did this book impact you? I know you worked alongside your mum. You took the photographs, tested the food, said what your favorites were, But obviously it was born out of a health condition for yourself. How did this impact you?
It's definitely been a journey, I'll say that. Lots of trial, error, tears at times, stress, all of that. But yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes we kind of lost sight of what, the actual, what I was working towards. And it wasn't until kind of a few weeks ago where I was like, you know what, my leg is doing better than it has been in so long. I mean, I suffer from swelling and around my knee joint, so it causes all sorts of pain. And it was to the point where I could kind of grab like a bag almost of fluid around my knee, and it was horrible. And aches, and it was getting to the point where it was becoming such an issue day to day. It was like, oh, am I going to be okay at work tonight? And I'm like, I'm 22, 3. It's like, that shouldn't be a thing that I'm even thinking about. Um, and then, yeah, I guess we really wanted to make the change to being vegan. And then it's kind of a big thing that I was pushing to mum, is that when I was looking for recipes and looking for ideas, it was, a list of 30, 40 ingredients and things I couldn't even pronounce. I'm like, well, you've scared me off before I even want to start. So that was a big thing, working with mums, that I really wanted to make sure that for other people, they're not scared out of going vegan because it's too complicated, too, overwhelming. And I think we did the balance very well. But in terms of my health, yeah, as I said, my leg is doing great. There's still the odd aches, pains, swelling here and there. But compared to where I was a year ago, like it's a different leg. And I can only put it down to diet. I mean, I've been sitting around doing nothing for a whole year, nothing else has changed, so it must be my diet. My hair it keeps growing, it won't stop. I had a haircut today that got cancelled, so continue to grow. My skin's doing great. Yeah, I think about 6 months ago, I was taking a photo of myself. My skin was grey. I don't know if you remember, Mum, but it was.
Yeah.
My hair was like straw. I didn't feel good at all. And then yeah, I don't want to say I've been focusing on diet, but this has been an ongoing journey with Mum and I, trialing recipes, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and yeah, I feel great and I enjoy it. And as you said, Bev, it's now cooking with meals that as I'm going through, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great, but I'll make sure to add some spinach. I'll add my chia seeds, just because I know that that's going to add the things that I need. And it's now at the point where I don't really think about it. It's just something I do. And I never thought I'd be like that. So yeah, I'm very grateful to Mum.
So how long ago did you make these changes, Sarah?
I guess we kind of started we started the kind of interest in veganism, I'd say probably about a year ago. And then lockdown happening, life turning upside down. I didn't really kind of stick to it as strictly as I could have. But I'd say the past kind of 5 months, I've been far more on it. I'd say solid 3 months I've been completely vegan. And it's almost easy now, which is really weird to say. I never thought I'd go vegan. But it's also kind of inner smugness of I've got plenty of friends that are vegan, and we discuss the meals and everything, and for them it's buying the vegan sausages, the vegan sandwiches, the vegan pasta, and I'm like, that's not healthy. That's no different to me being non-vegan and buying frozen chicken Kieves and the processed foods. And I feel smug when I'm yes, well, I'm making my put on toast with
I must admit, I went shopping the other day and there are a load of very expensive vegan products, because it's the thing at the moment, isn't it? And it's so expensive, firstly. And secondly, when you really start looking at all those ingredients, you can just put numbers on them.
I know.
And it's so not good for you. But one of the other things is, I've tried some of the recipes. It's really, really tasty. I mean, I like my food. I like food to taste good, and but I'm also now knowing that I'm doing good to my body. And I mean, I've just started on the 1st of January. We're now a week in, because tomorrow will be a week, and I've noticed tremendous differences just for me: the quality of my skin, the sleeping, my hair. I've lost a few pounds, which is great for me, and yeah, I'm sleeping better. I've got more energy, and I think more than anything else, my skin is looking tremendously better, you know. So yeah, I can see it. I don't know if it's just I'm more relaxed, I don't know, but I can attest to some of those changes that you're speaking about, you know. And now armed with this lovely book that has also been signed for me, author by the author, um, I have a little bit more confidence going forward, isn't it? Just like you, Sarah.
That's one of the things that a few people who've been getting back to me about the book been very rewarding, is that how they say that the simply cooking the recipe makes them feel healthy. They don't even have to eat it. They just know that they're getting the stuff. So the eating bit is the incidental bit, even though it's the enjoyment of it. There's this kind of inner sense of inner knowledge that, yeah, I get what I need. So that's been very helpful to them. So it's been fun to hear about.
Okay, and we do want to have some time for questions, but Jen, what's next in terms of your niche? And you know, you seem to change careers, you write about it, you share your knowledge, you share your experience, but so what's next? In is it still going to be nutrition? What are we looking at?
Definitely nutrition. I've got another, oh my God, 15 books planned. I've got them mapped out. I've got the next one going to be released is for beating fatigue. So how to boost your energy. And of course, this would apply to non-vegans as well, because it's about balancing blood sugar, but the recipes would be purely vegan or plant-based. But yeah, so there's boosting your immune system, there's weight loss for vegans, there's how to support your skin, how to support your hair, and so on and forth. Another 15 of them to go. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but yeah.
It's quite an ambitious project, isn't it? How did you come to think of it as a series or a set? Just so
Again,
that, you know,
because
it'll help other people as well
yeah.
when they're writing about their niche.
Yeah, I guess particularly with for Sarah, the first book was pretty generalized because it was the basics, but the second book, Beating Fatigue, was based around my first or eldest daughter, who was a vegan, went off to university, and then promptly had all sorts of issues with fatigue. And at that time, this was 9-10 years ago, I didn't know enough to tell her what she needed. And it transpired that she was quite anemic. She was definitely low on the B12s, and she had multitude of health issues. And yeah, it was, you know, such intense regret, because I know now what I should have told her to eat, and how, having had that, I mean, she had panic issues, all sorts, because of her diet. And had I known then what I know now, it would have made her first year of university, well, all of her university experience, so much more enjoyable, because she would have had the energy to do it, and she wouldn't have had or suffered from the fears that she had. And yeah, so while Sarah's book is individual to her, the Beating Fatigue one is particularly individual to Leander, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's where I'm going. Each book is devoted to either a family member or, you know, somebody I know who's got an issue and would like that area to improve.
Okay, and so just before you know, we open the floor for questions, what would be your top 3 tips to people who are writing about their niche and something they're passionate about?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing. If it's your niche, be really, really passionate about it. Make sure it's something that puts you into a state of flow. So when you're writing, if you're getting the photography or doing anything along those lines that related to your story, be passionate about it. Make sure it comes from the core, because then it's not going to feel like work. The other thing is get your facts right. Yeah. And the third thing is have some really wonderful beta readers to give you support on getting it read and getting the feedback and telling you you've spelled things wrong once again. So yeah, those have been invaluable to me.
Okay. And I mean, as I said earlier, you know, I do notice that there's been a lot of research gone into it. Give us a concept or some idea as to how hard that was, or difficult or easy.
I would say for each recipe, it takes 15 minutes to cook the recipe. I would say in terms of research, each recipe took 6 to 8 weeks to research and develop. So yeah, an intense amount of energy. Fair enough that, you know, the recipes as we go forward, as I've become more experienced, are going to be easier. But yeah, there's a lot of energy that went into making that happen.
It's interesting, you know, it's an easy read, it's easy to flip through, it's easy to look at, as you say, it's easy to make the books, but one has got no idea all the work that goes into it to making it easy. You know, I mean, I'm quite shocked that it's 68 weeks to research one recipe to make sure that all the facts are right. That is a phenomenal amount of work.
Well, of course, didn't help that it was lockdown, and then doing the wretched shopping was a trial and a mission. Getting the photography, you know, all of that was also kind of involved in that time. So yeah, it was challenging. It was very challenging, but no regrets.
Yeah.
And if it's something that you want to do and it's your niche subject, it won't feel like work. And that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And not easy to achieve, isn't it? To feel like what you love is what you do, and you're totally engrossed, involved, and passionate about it, and it just elevates your life. And also you're making such a tremendous impact on other people's lives, you know, because one of the things I can see this book really being good for, and I certainly found it quite useful, is it is a great book to help you make a transition into veganism with confidence, you know. And I've not seen such a book, and I've looked at lots of recipe books, vegan books, and I think of how to adapt things and so on, but this one is quite unique from that perspective, that you can look at it and feel confident you're getting a wide spectrum of foods and healthy nutrition into your system and body that's going to help you longer term repair things, as well as keep you maintained in the way in which you should be maintained on all sorts of levels. I also particularly liked your little quotes by Rumi. You matched them up beautifully.
Rumi, he's wonderful. Wonderful.
I was going to ask you, actually, you called Red Balloon Publications, but your balloon is blue. So tell us about that.
I think the problem is with so often in life we get distracted by the wrong thing. So we've gone into the vegan diet and, you know, right, we're going to be healthy. And that's, you know, that would be the red balloon we're focusing on because we're vegan. But in actual fact, what really need to focus on behind this is a blue balloon. It's a bit tricky. It's just my own personal kind of smile when I do it. It's like we all get the focus wrong, and it's so easy to do. And yeah. So
yeah, in NLP we have this phrase that goes, the map is not the territory. So what that means is, like you're saying, you know, we focus on the red balloon, but there's a big blue balloon out there we can't even see, feel, or touch, but it is there, and we should be aware of it. So I quite like that. Yeah, thanks for that. Anyway, is there anything else you want us to know about the book that I perhaps didn't touch on?
No, purely to say that if anybody ever reads the book and has got health issues, do not rely on the book to fix your health issues. See a doctor first. Yeah, it's
nice disclaimer.
It kind of gives me nightmares. It's, oh, Jen's book is kind of, here we go. It's the answer to all health. It's no, I'm not a doctor. You need a professional if you've got real health issues.
Okay, thanks for that. I think that's an important point. Right, the floor is open for any questions. Rachel generally handles our questions. And we normally ask people to put questions in the chat, but we didn't do that. I think we're small enough group to handle questions from the floor.
Well, people can put them on. People can put them on just now as well. It's not a problem. So just Betty saying how much she enjoyed it, and Betty Silberstein just saying how wonderful to be able to help other people with all these tips and good advice. And she wanted to thank you for sharing, Jennifer. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, could you explain in more detail about when you were talking about the amount of research nutritionally that you had to do? I know that you're saying each recipe took you 6 to 8 weeks, but you were talking about having to even know the basics of nutrition and how to make that easy. So, and I think a lot of people who are maybe writing non-fiction, it would be really good for them to understand how much work went into sort of each paragraph of you trying to distill medical knowledge into something that is quite easy for the layperson to read.
Yeah. So I use nutritional software to analyze the recipe, and let's take Sarah's lemony chickens. And she gave me the recipe. She said, I really like this. So I put it into the nutritional software, and it came up with quite significant gaps in the recipe. So what I had to do is go through a huge amount of research to figure out what is going to boost the zinc, what is going to boost the iodine, what is going to boost the B12, what is there any vitamin D in there? If you were going to get that, how would you be able to add it? What about the vitamin E, etc., etc.? And then if you were going to use it for, perhaps just for the sake of argument, you want to use it to boost your iron, would it then supply the vitamin C that you need to order in order to absorb the iron? If you're having spinach with it, the spinach would have to be cooked, so the oxalates and stuff were neutralized. So it wasn't just a superficial thing. It had to be, it took so much time to go through all of that and work out. And then it still had to taste good. So, it's all very easy. You can throw in this and you can throw in that, but it has to work. And also you have to get the stuff from Aldi. You don't want to be able to have this supermarket and that health food store. It's got to be cheap. It's got to be nutritious. It's got to be tasty, and it's got to be easy. And that's what I try to do.
And it's got to look good.
Yeah, and also, yeah, absolutely. It's still got to look like this is going to be a tasty, yummy meal. So, yeah, that was a lot more challenging than I ever dreamt. Because if you think, okay, I'm going to add chia seeds to this, what are the implications? What do you need? If you're cooking with the chia seeds, that's going to destroy the omega-3. Well, you need to know that. And, in the beginning, I didn't know, despite having, done my studies. We did a lot of work on how the cell works, but yeah, that's all very useful. But from a basic foundational thing on a recipe, you don't cook with nutritional yeast. You add it at the end. You don't cook your chia seeds. So yeah, that took time to learn.
So what would you say to somebody then about realistically how much they need to do, how much research they need to do for a non-fiction book? Because I think the thing is that fiction and non-fiction are such different ways of writing. Because fiction, you very much write around something. So you can have 40,000 words and not use any of them, but you're writing your way around to get to your story. Yeah. Whereas with non-fiction, the work that you do to prepare to write is completely different.
It is very, very different. And this is something I can attest to from both the yachting books and the cooking books, is that you have to be prepared to get that research in. And like it or not, you might think it's going to take 3 days, but 30, 40 days later, if that's what it takes, then that's what it has to be, because the people who are reading it are relying on you to supply information that's correct. And to skimp on that is immoral, really. So yeah, put that research hat on and don't think you know it. There have been a few times where I thought I knew something, and then researchers said, oh my God, no, definitely this is not the best approach to do X, Y, and Z. So you have to, let go of some of the things that you believed in. And so do that research.
And so you can't be attached to too much to your own beliefs either.
Absolutely, yeah. That's it.
And what did you find was the most painful one to let go of that you've turned out to be wrong about?
Yeah, I'd say definitely the oils was challenging. Because we've been sort of olive oil is the best thing. Olive oil is wonderful, but it transpires that olive oil has just had a really, really, really great marketing team. And no, it's not the best thing. And if you want to cook avocado oil, and also not to be afraid of oils as well. It's getting that balance in. But yeah, that was tricky. And also, we like fried food, and that can really add a lot of flavor to a dish. But in the same instance, yeah, it's getting that balance, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of have some salad with your chips, then have half the portion of chips, as opposed to having chips and chips and chips.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And if you're having those chips and chips and chips, oh, it's fair enough. But bear in mind that your omega-3s and your omega-6s, the imbalance goes up, then the inflammation goes up. Oh, no.
Now, does anybody have any other questions? Desiree, you have unmuted yourself. Do you have a question?
Yes, Jen, you were talking about the challenges. Do you get to a point where you either feel, I can't do this, I can't do justification to this work, I can't, and you mentioned having a sense of responsibility to your readers. Is there at any point where you feel this is beyond and sort of almost ready to say, no, I can't do this?
Yeah, I think when I'm the future books that I want to write, there's a couple on, say, for example, pregnancy, wanting to become pregnant, and toddlers. I think those are absolutely crucial subjects. And we know that selenium, iodine, etc., are really important in the pre-pregnancy scene. But if you take too much iodine during pregnancy, that can go wrong. And that's an area which I think there is a desperate call for information on research, but that isn't a book I'm going to write, certainly not on my own and without, a collaborator who's a specialist in that field, because I think that's a step too far, and then the ramifications of giving the wrong information on that would just be horrific.
But ironically, that's definitely a field where, especially vegan mothers, Giselle was vegan for 2 years. We thought we'd done our homework. And then she was pregnant, and at the end of the pregnancy, she became anemic. All through her pregnancy, I'd been concerned about omega-3s. I don't know what else to be concerned about, but we had looked up what nutrients she'd be losing through the meat,
Yeah,
and what she needed to take in. But that's why when I found out about your book, when it was still in planning, every single antenna that I could possibly own stood right up to attention, because she stopped being vegan on my say so, because I said to her, Giselle, we did everything we could and you're still anemic. So reintroducing salmon, which you've since told me is toxic. And
sorry. Only farm salmon.
and chicken, and and she's not been vegan while she was breastfeeding Ruben either, and now she's trying to go back on, but this time we've got this to go by.
Better foundation, yeah.
But I mean, Ruben's a lovely, bright, beautiful, energetic, healthy, and intelligent child, but my blood still runs cold when I think of what she wasn't putting in her body when she was carrying him. And she's a little bit irritated, actually. She said to me, she stopped being vegan because of the anemia business, but now she's since found out that a lot of women who are not vegan are anemic too. So we really don't know enough at all about it. And I absolutely appreciate that you've got a new little life in there. And you really need to know, as you say, a collaborator. So I absolutely appreciate why you would approach that with real caution. But the irony is that is certainly an area where we desperately need help.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, you know, you didn't know much about it. You knew that there was the omega-3s that you needed to be concerned about, and perhaps the iron, but you didn't know what else you needed to worry about. And for example, the folic acid or the folates, that's something that the men should be doing as well before pregnancy, because it does affect sperm as well. So, you know, we don't know about those things. And if you are trying for a baby, you know, the selenium makes the sperm tails wiggle. And if the guys aren't getting that, yeah, it can really, you know, it can really affect your fertility. And yeah, no, there's so much to know. If you don't know, you don't know. And that's the hard thing.
One of the things that's coming out, I will come on to that if I can just say that is the moral responsibility when you're dealing with a factual book, isn't it? The weight of that responsibility about the information you're imparting really seems quite huge and heavy. And I suppose in the back of your mind, you're constantly having that nagging little voice saying, this is a huge responsibility. I must make sure it gets right, or it's written correctly, or the information is correct. And hence those 68 weeks per recipe is a vital investment. You know, I certainly can see that, and based on Rachel's questions as well, you know, this is absolutely vital. You get your facts right and you invest the time and the research to do that. So I think Betty has another question, and she's just typed it in, and she says, instead of using a deep fat fryer, what about using an air fryer, and how useful and nutritious can that make your meals?
To be perfectly honest, that's a splendid question. And if you look at my my Amazon wish list, I've got an air fryer in there because I wanted to test it. But I have not personally used an air fryer. I know that if you wanted to use it for battered foods, for example, we did a brilliant Kentucky fried oyster mushrooms, and they were absolutely amazing. They were very much deep fried. But you can't do something similar in a fryer. It's only for roasts and things like that. I've heard, you know, all the vegan groups that I'm a member of, they are raving about it, but I don't know enough about to say whether it's a good bet.
You do advocate the use of this cast iron pan. Do you just want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, cast iron, because I still got my mother's one, bless her heart, and that probably would belong to my grandmother. Sarah, it'll probably be yours if you're not in Australia. But yeah, it's such a solid pan. We know that Teflon has got so much poison in it, so stay away from that. And it just makes cooking so much easier if you've got a really decent pan. So yeah, definitely cast iron all the way. Or stainless steel, not aluminium.
And I'm assuming this is because the particles get into the food.
No, aluminium is avoid.
You're very faint, Jen.
I don't know why I haven't done anything. Maybe I'm fading.
No, it's probably just signal. Mm.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Can you hear me all right now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, cool. And any other questions from anyone?
Sorry, can you repeat what you said? Because we didn't hear it because you fainted.
So what was where I said about the air fryer?
No,
the cast iron pan.
Oh, okay, the cast iron. Yeah, it's just that it's a much, much better pan, because we know that Teflon has got so many horrific toxins, not just that we would ingest, but also that go into the environment. And we also know that aluminium can leach aluminium into the system, and that there's still questions about it. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't wait until prove that it's not healthy. Wait until you can prove it is healthy before you expect me to feed it to my family and friends. So yeah, we know that cast iron has been around for many, many, many years. Obviously, don't leave the food to sit in there, because it will leach iron into the food, and then you'll have an iron overdose. But yeah, on a kind of a cooking level, yeah, it's great.
Okay. Any other questions? I think we're getting close to ending soon. No further questions. Rachel, is that your hand up, or are you messing with dials?
I was just unmuting myself. I don't see any more questions.
Okay, that's fine. But what I do want to actually just say thank you to Jennifer and Sarah for this very, very informative chat, and you know, releasing this fabulous book that I think is going to make a huge difference, certainly to me. You know, and I know it's made a huge difference to Desiree already. And as we heard from Sarah, this is the book to have if you're wanting to include more plant-based foods in your diet, whether you're going Monday to Friday vegan, or just doing the ad hoc type of arrangement where you're looking at increasing your nutrition and improving your health and well-being. So thank you very much, Jen, for producing it and also sharing this time with us to tell us more about your experience of how to write about your niche, and the painstaking efforts in terms of the research and the time and the effort that went into this. Really interesting for us to learn about. Before we sign off today, I just want to remind everyone that our next talk on the 3rd of February, on the 17th of January, is with Chris Schumacher, who's also in some form talking about her niche. She's talking about how she's taken her practical and technical experience and used that as a basis for a novel, not a technical book, very interestingly, but for a novel. So that's on the 17th of January. After that, we've got Jackie Norton, who is on the call today because she's interested to see how this works. And Jackie will be talking about storytelling and the brand, the story of your brand. So that could prove to be quite interesting as well. So and also next week in our newsletter we'll tell you more about it. But for the moment, don't forget, for this year we have a strong focus on getting our World Storytelling Day Festival on the 20th of March, and we're running it over 2 days. And register now. You'll get insight into what's coming up, and so there's a huge focus for us on getting that festival going. It's an international festival on using plain language, and we wanting to we've got representatives from all over the world. Each continent will be represented. We're talking with the Department of Trade and Industry in the UK here, and we're also talking to the British Council, and we'll be spreading our wings far and wide for an exciting adventure on World Storytelling Day. But so brace yourselves, people, register for that, and we'll keep going, lockdown or no lockdown. There's some exciting things to be had. We also have some paid courses on food and drink and how to make shoe. Rachel's doing a fabulous talk on whiskey and understanding whiskey and what it all means when you say it's a single malt or full malt. Rachel's written a book on what's the title, Rachel? Forgotten?
Chasing the Dram.
Chasing the Dram. I knew there was the word dram in there. And we've got
a talk on
Dr.
whiskey. We've got somebody who's going to be showing you how to make perfect shoe pastry that you can do along with it. So if you're fed up with lockdown banana bread, shoe pastry is the way forward. The other one we're doing is we've got Franca Phillip is coming and doing like an evening in Trinidad so that you can cook along with her.
And that is live from Trinidad, isn't it? That's live from Trinidad.
She'll be in her kitchen in Trinidad cooking early, very early for us. We've also got Annie Gray, who's talking about historical recipes and how you can find out the biography of people from the recipes that they've written. She wants people to bring in their own recipes, whether it's their great granny's recipes or whether it's an old book that they want to know more about. And there's a lot of different things on a Thursday. The idea is it's the best night out that you can have in your house.
Yeah. Okay. So that's also on the Your Stories website. Go and search the events. There's some more coming up for the next quarter. It's going to be a very, very exciting quarter for us. And we look forward to you joining us. So Happy New Year once again, everyone. And here's to a big thumbs up to a great year for all of us. Thanks very much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bev?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm just going to stop the recording.